Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fiercely Spiritual podcast. I'm your host, Sandra Ray, and I'm so delighted to have with me today Cynthia Long. Cynthia is somebody who I've connected with on Instagram, and I'm so delighted to chat with her today. Cynthia has always loved the knowledge that something bigger and greater is watching over us, and being an angel intuitive helps her to navigate the ebb and flow of daily life. So really looking forward to chatting with you. You're so welcome today, Cynthia.
Thank you, Sandra. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I think I was just saying to you beforehand, it's funny because we've connected on Instagram, and I just felt straight away that like loving, warm energy from you, and just really got a sense of, that, angel energy and the love coming forward. And I just love that we can connect through, you know, space, and you're over in Texas, I'm in Ireland, and just pick up on that energy and be so palpable. So yeah, it's just great that we have this opportunity to chat today.
I agree. I agree. I have people ask, oh my goodness, I wish that I was closer to you so that we could meet in person or that we could hang out. And I completely understand and I get it. And then, but I also see the other spectrum where it's important for us to be in the different locations where we are so that the light can like connect from one place to the other and then cause this like quick little grid of connection and spread out kind of like a spider web of like light and love.
Totally. And I so see it like that as well. This like cosmic web where we're all like these little lights lighting up. And I get the same where people say to me, like, oh, I'd love to come to you in person, and I'd love to, sit and get a healing or whatever. And I often say to people, especially when they live in other countries, well, I can send healing, I can connect with your energy. And they're kind of like, oh, really? How does that work? And there's no difference. I mean, I could be in a room with somebody and, doing a healing, and I can connect somebody in Australia and have the same connection. It's just energy. It's all energy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, what I want to talk to you about today, there's so much I want to get into, but I want to start off just by giving everybody a sense of how you've become an angel intuitive, where it all started, and how your journey began.
Um, it's something that I've always been able to do, but it's only been in the last several years that I've really allowed it to be more in a presence with me than kind of tamping it down and maybe feeling a little bit out of sorts or feeling weird or, fearing judgment, if you will. So releasing that judgment really is what opened it all up and being able to just kind of shine and be myself without that fear. It made a huge difference. And from there, the universe just kind of connected me with people who were very helpful in advancing that, the knowledge and the light. And it was kind of reciprocal, so they would help me in a way and I would help them in a way. And it just kind of expanded from that. And I absolutely love it. And I appreciate all the opportunities that, continue to come to me to grow and to share all the love and knowledge that, that is out there for all of us.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because I think a lot of us come from that sense of, well, people are going to think I'm strange if I'm talking about angels, or, there's a sense of, well, do we talk about this in public? But, what are people going to be? And I'm the same. When I first started, it was like, I'd mentioned it to a few friends or a few people, but I was in no way going to be talking about it to the general public. Or at the time, I was working in a corporate job, and
Yeah.
it wasn't something that I mentioned. And I love that you have just honored that connection and be authentic in that connection, and just allowed it to grow and blossom. And that's really so important.
Yeah, I think it's important for others too to understand that um, it's okay to shine that light of yours, and if it's not meant for someone that is in your surroundings, say it's at your corporate job or it's a neighbor, That's perfectly fine. Let them kind of be in their level of understanding, and you continue on with yours, because you're actually going to have a bigger impact on others out there versus, you know, those few that are in that closer area of your proximity, like I said, neighbor or coworker, something like that. And you never know when they might circle back around and go, you know, I was watching this documentary and they were talking about like light workers, and I remember you said something, and so what's that all about? So you never know when they will come back to you and kind of inquire and seek a little bit of wisdom from your side.
Absolutely. That's such a good point, because I think sometimes when you do start out, and especially when I started healing, I thought I had to heal the world. And everybody who I talked to who had like an issue or some sort of problem, and I was like, oh, I can help you, you know, I can fix you, or, you know, and I had to realize, well, actually, not everybody needs help. Not everybody wants, you know, help. And people have to go through certain things to experience certain things, and they don't necessarily need to be fixed either. So there's that part of it as well.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So what I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're working on some really exciting things at the moment, and I want to get into that, and we're going to talk about the Cosmic Love Goddess, which sounds like an amazing project you're working on. But just for people listening, a lot of people will already be connecting with their angels and already have some sort of spiritual practice. But if there's people who are just starting out, what do you recommend? How would they best connect with their angels? What's the best way to start talking to their angels? Is there something simple that they can do?
Absolutely. I think the best way is just to talk to them like they're your best friend, because really, even though you don't see them, they are your friend. They are there for your best interest, for your highest good. And just talking to them, sharing with them, asking for help is the big thing. And asking for that help, while it can be hard for a lot of us because we are driven to, you know, do things on our own and be independent, we all need a level of help at some point or other. And asking them for their help is where they are allowed then to step in and have that more proactive interaction. While they will be with you always, it's that moment of you saying, I'm stuck, I need assistance, how can you, you know, help me, show me an opportunity, open a door for me so that I may step through it. um, I always see that is the easiest and simplest way.
Yeah, and I think that not many of us realize that we can talk to angels that way. Because I know I go through a formal process of calling in the angels, especially, you know, doing meditations and, you know, the power of three and calling on angels to the power of three. But I do, as I go about my daily life, do exactly what you said, where I'm just talking to them and saying, you know, can you help me with this? You know, I'm experiencing this. Like you said, they're your best friend who's with you constantly. And then if you do want to work with specific archangels or other angels, you can, of course, call them in and work with them in that way. But your guardian angel is always there, and your guardian angel
Yeah.
is always listening and waiting for you to ask that question as well.
Exactly, exactly. And your guardian angel knows what is best for you. So, one of the things that I have learned in my process is that when we call on the archangels, we ask them to work with our guardian angels. You know, the archangels have this kind of umbrella that they work with, and it's our guardian angels that know the specifics, and their energy will channel the archangels, you know, overlying energy and love into where it needs to go. Kind of if you think about in the process of like a work situation, you have like the CEO of the company, but then you have all these other, you know, directors and employees. And so if you, once it filters down to you, you know, you're getting your line of information from someone directly next to you versus the CEO isn't asking you to go get them a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. And it does, it's like everybody's working together. It's all the same company, everybody's working towards the same goal. It's just maybe your guardian angel is the one who's beside you the whole time, and the others, you know, you might not get to see them, you might not get to interact with them directly, but they're all filtering those messages down.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a great analogy. I love that. So when people start working with their angels, I think sometimes they think they're going to like hear this like external voice, this like voice of God, or there's going to be some sort of like, you know, flash of light, or, and it's not to say, you know, there are times when that does happen, but most of the time it's quite subtle, I find. And it's very like little intuitive nudges, or like just an idea that comes. How do you find, do you have a certain way that you pick up on their communication?
I agree with you. I think that it comes at all of those different levels. But I think really that simplest way and the most common way are those little intuitive nudges. It may be something that you were kind of like pondering already, and then you see a billboard sign or an email comes through that you weren't expecting, and there's that message in there that you were like, oh, I was just thinking about this, or you know, those types. I really take those as like those everyday signs, you know. And oftentimes when we're asking for those big, like overreaching kind of, you know, things of help, those take a little bit of time. Those aren't like a, you know, overnight type of a situation. A lot of stuff with that, I think people, they get frustrated because they don't understand that there is this level of divine timing involved. And then there's this level of kind of alignment and behind the scenes things that has to take place. You know, I use this analogy with my clients sometimes, is about let's say you want to be a doctor. You know, you have this passion for, you know, healing the public. Well, you're not going to just take one class and suddenly you're a doctor. It's years of planning, it's years of study, it's years of practice that goes, you know, into you and under your belt in order for you to get to that point. And so a lot of times people are like, well, why isn't this happening right now? And I have to say, it's a matter of patience, it's a matter of divine timing. And there's also lessons that you need to learn along the way so that you can appreciate once you reach that point that you're looking to, you know, to reach and to succeed.
Totally. And sometimes we ask for things that we're not ready for. And we think we're ready, but
Exactly.
where there's a little bit of learning or a little bit of, you know, spiritual development that has to occur before we're actually ready for it. And what I find is sometimes I'll pick up on something that the angels are telling me that's coming up. And I'll think, great, I'm ready for that. That's going to happen next week. But they're saying it's going to happen next year, but they have, you know, no concept of time the way we do. So they might drop in like little things like, okay, this is coming up, but they don't actually say this is coming up next year.
Right.
But
Right.
the analogy, I love your doctor analogy. I often teach my students about when you go into a restaurant and you order a meal, you don't expect the waiter to like take down your order and then put it in front of you straight away. And there's all this stuff going on in the kitchen
No
that you're
matter
not
how
aware of.
yeah, no matter
And
how hungry you are, it's not going to just appear in your on your table like in seconds.
exactly. Yeah. So you know that you have to wait for the process to happen behind the scenes, and that there's lots of stuff going on, and it will eventually arrive. Sometimes it's within 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, but yeah, it's going to get there. So there's that whole divine timing. And I think we're not really too good at that these days, because the instant gratification
Yes.
is such a big thing, and it's just like, come on, give me my, you know, desire or whatever. And
Yep.
we just have to be patient.
Yes. I was telling someone the other day, patience anymore seems to be a four-letter word because we just don't that identification that we become so accustomed to. We want it right now, and if we don't receive it right now, well then what did I do wrong? Why aren't I getting it? You know, what do I need to change in order to get it? And yeah, like you said, there's stuff happening in the kitchen that you just need to wait until it's delivered.
Exactly, exactly. So if there are people, maybe there's somebody who needs to hear that at the moment, they're waiting for something or they're waiting for a sign. And if there are people who are experiencing that, where you think that you've been asking and you haven't been receiving anything and you're wondering what's going on, know that it is being worked on in the background. Your angels are working away, and not to worry, to let it go and just relax. And usually when we relax, that's when it arrives. When you forget about it, that's when it comes. So we were talking about the cosmic love goddess, and I'm really excited to hear more about that. And I would love if you could just explain a bit about what you're doing with that.
Yes, absolutely. So it is a class that really, it's a 6-week course that incorporates every single aspect for you to raise your vibration. It covers from the feng shui in your home to astrology, numerology, crystals, oils, and really just about how you can work with all of these elements and aspects in order to open up that space in your heart to invite the goddess in. You know, we have this power within all of us, and it's really a matter, again, of asking for the help in order to be able to receive it. And so in this course, we're discussing these different elements and aspects, and really just opening people's eyes to these different ways that they can kind of change things up a little bit, raise the vibration in their home, and invite that divine love that is already within them.
Lovely. That sounds so beautiful. And that's something I'm really passionate about. I think that everybody has like this inner goddess. And I see, I don't know if you remember She-Ra, that cartoon. It was like He-Man and She-Ra, and like that kind of like goddess kind of power. And I remember, one day I was just feeling like a bit off. This was a few years ago, and thinking to myself, I was like, I have this inner kind of warrior goddess within me, and she wants to come out. And yet here I am, like feeling this way and like not connecting with it. So I love that you're helping people to connect with that side of them and to bring out that place of empowerment and to just reconnect. So can anyone join? When's it starting? How do people find out
So,
more?
yeah, so the class started 2 weeks ago. We're already on to week 3. So the way we're working it currently is that it is in a live format. We use Zoom, and so we meet every Friday and we do the class. And those that can't attend, of course, the recording is sent off to them. There's a bit of homework in our group so that we can prepare for the upcoming week. But I definitely have some plans on making it available to everyone and anyone for a digital download after we've wrapped up the classes.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And what I find is that when I'm working with people like that, in my group, we have like our live classes, and then we have, the recordings and stuff that people can watch afterwards. But I'm finding more and more that people don't necessarily have time to attend classes in person. And it's just so much more convenient for them to be at home and to click on a recording and to get all this beautiful energy and to learn and to connect with, their angels, and not necessarily have to go off and be with a teacher for, 6 weeks and do it. And of course, it's lovely to do that. But I find being able to just connect with people in their homes is such a blessing. And it's so lovely to be able to offer that to people as well.
Yeah, and I definitely let everybody know that it's on them for their level of participation, whether they want to have an active role in it, or if it's something that they just kind of want to slowly incorporate. Not everything that we discuss is going to resonate with people, but it's the information is definitely there for them to utilize and tap into if they, should choose to.
Yeah, and they can go at their own pace and dip in and out if they want, or do as little or as much as they like.
Right.
And I find that as well. I've done online courses where I have like immersed myself in it, and then I might take a break for a while, and then I'll go back at another stage, and I'll get so much more from it because I'll have integrated all of the teachings. And then when I go back, I'm at a different level. So sometimes the stuff that I've already done, the second time when I go back through it, it's like, oh, there's like a new level of meaning. And I love that because it's always there and you can always go back to it. So I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
And you've so much going on. I love that you're connecting with people through your courses. And I know that you also create different products. You have your essential oils, which you mentioned, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you also create crystal grids, which I've seen and I just love. And maybe some of the people who are listening might not know too much about crystal grids. So I'd love to just explain what they are and how to use them.
Yeah, absolutely. So a crystal grid can be anything that you set out in any sort of shape that just calls to you. It could be in the shape of a heart. It could be in the shape of a star. However you want to put that energy out there and welcome it into you. How this started was a girlfriend and I were discussing, we wish that there was this item out there. And as we started talking about it, I said to her, actually, I think I can make that. And so as she's talking to me, I'm writing out and sketching out what I am kind of seeing in my head. And then I took a screenshot of it and sent it to her. And I said, this is what I just drew. What do you think? And she was just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's in my mind. And so I went to the store, I got all the supplies and put it together. I even sent her video as I was creating it. And the video brought her to tears. And she was just like, oh my gosh, Cynthia, you don't understand. Like, I can feel the energy coming off of this from you and from the grid and how you're putting it all together. And so I was absolutely honored because I could feel it as well as I was creating it. My level of energy went to a different place. There was this, like, I was already happy because I was creating something and I love being in that element, but it just kind of went up a couple of levels. And when she received it, like to this day, she continues to cry. She's like, I put blah, blah, blah on my crystal grid today and you wouldn't believe the stuff that came through. And so I'm absolutely honored. And so I've started this process of putting it out there for those that are interested, for me to channel either their guides or currently, I have an example. I'm working on Archangel Raphael and creating a healing grid. So you can see all the movement in this grid. So this is only a few steps in. It still needs the Merkaba to be laid over it, which is Metatron's cube. And from there, then it'll get a couple more little treatments to it. But for this person that's going to utilize it, she does a lot of healing work for people. And she's going to be able to lay her crystals out on this grid as she calls in and does the work. So, and it could be remote work. It could be work that she does with them there in person. But this is going to just elevate that energy to another level.
That's so beautiful. And I love the colors because I've seen other crystal grids, which are, a piece of wood with the sacred geometry on it. But I don't think I've seen ones like yours where you have those vivid colors and is it like laminated or there's like, how does I don't know how you finish it.
So I actually have one of those wood finished ones with the grid over it. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. But this one is what they call an acrylic pour. So it's acrylic paint. And it's all put together and then poured on. And then you start moving the piece of wood that I'm using currently. And you just let it do its thing and let it flow into the places that it wants to go. And then you start putting over, the shiny parts to it. So right now it's got the little layer of gloss. And then probably today, I'm going to go ahead and put the Merkaba over the top of it. And then it'll get another layer of gloss. And that gloss, I put some selenite, it's ground selenite powder into the gloss. And so it goes in there. And that's, if people understand what selenite is, or if you don't know what it is a crystal that never has to be cleared. It is always at its most high vibration. And so using the selenite just amplifies anything that you put on top of it. It clears it out. It amplifies the energy. It just, like I said, it takes it to another level, really.
It sounds amazing. And I know I've used crystal grids a little bit. It's something that I'm learning to use. I work with crystals, but I wasn't really working with crystal grids. And I found just an article explaining about how to use it, and I started experimenting. And I love that you can use it for different purposes and for manifesting and for amplifying intentions and different things. So what do you use them for? Do you use them for specific things, or how do you use them generally?
I generally put them together and I put a couple of different crystals on there that I want to work with during the week. So I'll have one in the center, and that'll be like the main energy that I'm calling forward. So for example, this week I used a piece of dragon stone, and I put the dragon stone in the center. And then that was to help bring in kind of the calm and be able to have communication, clear communication, because we were going through this beginning part of Mercury retrograde, and that can sometimes halt some stuff with communication. And also with us being in the Pisces season, it was a little bit about those feelings and emotions. So I wanted to work with something that was going to help that for myself and for everyone that was called to see it. So that dragonstone went in the center. And then I place on the outside of it, I place some sunstones, which is about having the confidence in our solar plexus. And it also brings with that confidence some calm clarity, so that we can be rational. And then I put clear quartz with it as well to amplify it. And I also called in a little bit of amethyst because I like that spiritual nature to be brought in. And amethyst works with the third eye. So I like that aspect that we were connecting the third eye, the throat, and the solar plexus all together. And so that's how I created it. I put it in a circle. Like I said, for people, if you're going to do something that's for love, I recommend you put it into a heart shape. Because you're putting that like energy in there, and that loving little cusp. And if you're going to doing something with abundance, you can turn it into, make your shapes into an infinity shape, because you want that constant flow of energy and abundance going together.
That's
So yeah.
lovely.
And
Yeah.
people use crystals, they use flowers, just anything that you feel called to put together to create that level of beauty and grace. It really is to the person's specific tastes.
And I highly recommend anybody who is drawn to working with the crystals to go and have a look at your Instagram page, because there's some examples of your crystal grids and some different arrangements that you use. And I'll put a link to that below, but it's Angel Roots and Boots, isn't it, on Instagram? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's lovely because what I found was when we're working with the energy of the crystals, even though we set the intention and we set the energy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with my computer today. Obviously, the Mercury is not working in my favor. But basically, when you set the intention, the crystals are working away in the background. So you can just let it go, and you don't have to be constantly thinking about, trying to manifest love or whatever it is in your life. You can just set the crystal grid and leave it, and that'll be amplified. And then you can go about, whatever it is you're doing, and just let it go, which I think is lovely, because sometimes we think, oh, I have to be actively manifesting, or have to be actively doing this. But often it's when we let it go that it starts to happen, and it's a lovely way of letting it go.
Yeah, every grid I make, after it's complete, it goes up on the shelf in my office. It has a prevalent place in my office, or outside in my home, depending on what it's for. And that's it. It's done, and there's no other reason for me to have to go to it, to touch it, to talk to it, anything of that nature.
That's brilliant. And if people want to buy them, they can order them from you, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
brilliant.
And they're custom made, so they can either request a specific angel that they're looking to work with. Like I said, this one is for Archangel Raphael for healing purposes. But you can also just ask for something that, there's some colors that soothe you, that go with your motif in your home or your office. And that's what I do, is I just channel that energy that is from you, from your guides, from the angels, and that energy is channeled into that grid, so that it is always working, for you and in your favor.
Brilliant. Sorry about the interruptions. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the fact that you work with crystals, but you also work with the essential oils, and you make specific oil blends. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I know that working with the crystals and the oils and the angels and meditation, everything together is just so powerful, and it just works, in conjunction to enhance whatever you're doing. So how do you create your blends, and what do you do when you're working with them?
So the blends are the same as when I am creating a crystal grid. It's all channeled every blend, while it might have a base beginning, will be channeled from the energy of that individual that's ordered it. And I don't make them until that person has placed the order, because I want to tune into that energy that they're currently needing or working with. And so I will then just kind of create something that I'm called to. I have a wall, I kid you not, it is a wall of essential oils. And I'll just look at the wall and I am drawn to which ones I need to incorporate a little more, a little less. And then the crystals that go into it will also take the oil energy and just kind of put it all together. And how that started was I was using them for myself. I was taking a crystal and carrying it in my pocket, or I would be wearing a crystal bracelet and I would put the oils on my bracelet. And then I thought, well, how come I don't have, why isn't there something out there that's already like put together? And I started thinking, I wish I could buy that. Well, how about instead I make it? So I went online, I bought the supplies that I needed to, contain it into one container, and started creating them for myself. And it turned into me giving them to my friends. If a friend said, well, I'm having trouble sleeping. So then I would go and I would create for her a little blend to help her sleep. And then she would tell one of her friends, oh, I've got this stuff and, I use it to sleep. Maybe it'll help your kid go to sleep, and he's not up getting a drink 5 times a night. And so it just evolved into that. And it turned into something. It was like, well, do you have something for this, situation? Do you have something to help me with confidence? Do you have something to help me with like loving myself more? Do you have something for studying? And so I ended up creating this base of blends and their crystals. And it's gone from there. People that receive my stuff, they absolutely, they feel that loving angelic energy. They feel that they know that it is high quality. It's not, some grocery store grade stuff. It's not going to impact their skin in any way, have a reaction of any sort. So it's high vibrational, it's high quality, and there's nothing but just a pure love. When I create, I just kind of go into this other place where I'm just so happy, and I start envisioning that client and how happy they're going to be when they use the product, and they can tell when it arrives. They're just like, oh my goodness, this smells so good, it feels so good, I love my stuff, and it's an absolute honor to create it for them as well.
And it's so important, I think, to come from that space of creating from that place of love and just infusing those high vibes into it. And it's so true, because you feel that. And like I said, when I was connecting with you online, and I could feel that energy coming from, just your images that you're putting up in your posts, and knowing that, that energy was behind it. And you don't need to necessarily meet somebody to experience that. You can experience it just through connecting with their energy, whether it's in person or at a distance. So I think that's testament to you and how you're living what you're doing. So if somebody who has never worked with crystals, never worked with essential oils, if they want to get started, where is the best place to start? Is there a certain crystal that they should go to, or just follow their intuition?
Absolutely follow your intuition. You're going to be drawn toward those crystals, those pieces that just kind of speak to you. And oftentimes I'll have people say, I don't know why I bought this, but now that you told me that this is what it does, it completely makes sense. And now I understand. Or I had somebody the other day that I was speaking about a particular crystal. And as we're speaking, she reaches across her desk and picks up this enormous crystal. It was bigger than her hand. And she said, I was at the store and I went there to get something different, but then I left with this. And I don't know why, but I brought it home and I love it. I stuck it on my bedside table. And as I'm talking to them and telling them what it does, they're just, oh, that makes perfect sense. Oh, it doesn't even match the decor in my room, but I just love it. I don't want to get it, put it somewhere else. So really, I would say just go with your intuition. If you feel like you need a beginner's start, a lot of people, are always looking for additional abundance in their life, or how can they bring, that back into their home. Maybe they felt that it left a bit and they need to, invite it back in. Citrine is the perfect piece for that. And it doesn't matter if it's a big piece or a small piece, the energy in it still does the same amount of work. So citrine is a good one for abundance. If you're looking to clear your home, some clear quartz or some selenite would be great as well. And if you're looking to do a little bit more intuition work, some meditation, amethyst, that beautiful deep purple, like grape and crystal, all together, is another lovely one. And another one that everybody goes toward is rose quartz, because that is like that heart opening space, that love, and it's that universal love. It's for love for yourself. It's for inviting love from others, and for people to see you wrapped in that beautiful pink hue.
Beautiful. And it's funny, as you were talking, a lot of the crystals you mentioned, like I have selenite at my doorway. I have, all the different rose quartz and citrine and all the different ones. But I love giving crystals to some of my clients, and I'll say to them, just work with this and see how you get on. And they may never have worked with crystals before, and it doesn't really matter. It's just to begin to even just hold it in your hand and just feel the energy. And I remember a quick story about my mother when I started working with crystals, and there was like a clear quartz crystal, and I placed it in her hand and I said, just see if you can feel the energy of it. And she was like just holding it, and she was saying, no, I don't really feel that much. And then she was like, oh, it's getting like really hot. And she was like, like maybe it's just my hand. She's like, oh no, it's getting really, really hot. And she could really feel that energy of it. And I was laughing, and she was like, did you do something to it? I was like, no, I haven't done anything. But it's amazing how you can just feel a crystal in your hand and start feeling its energy.
Mm-hmm. I oftentimes, when I go to the crystal shop, um, even for the pieces that I am drawn toward, I will pick up a couple of different pieces, because it may be the prettiest one does not resonate with me. It might be another piece that I'm like, well, you're not as sparkly, or you might have a little chip here, but I hold it and it resonates with me. And the same, like this energy will start pulsing through my hand. I have some pieces that I have purchased, and I've held them and they feel completely different to me than they do to my daughter and my husband. While they will still feel that energy, they have a different reaction than what I do. And I think that's remarkable. It's a testament of how everybody receives that energy and how it flows through them.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I go into a crystal store, and you might see me like scanning my hands over the crystals. I'd be like, oh, there's something there. But yeah, and one person might feel nothing from one and something completely different from another. And it's to do with your energy, your frequency, what you need, and what energy that crystal is vibrating at. So yeah, it's a really good point. So if people are drawn to working with crystals, just go out, explore, and just go with your intuition and see what you're drawn to. And also with the oils, I love essential oils, and I find them so powerful. And normally I have a diffuser in my house with some essential oils in it. Somebody came to the door the other day, and I had the diffuser at the front door, and they were like, oh, wow, that smell, it's lovely. And they were like, what is it? And I couldn't even remember what I put in it. I was like, actually, I don't know. I put something in. But yeah, I'll always be just, having that energy diffusing into my home, because I think it's lovely to have that in the house, just to even cleanse the air and
Yes.
just allow it to be cleansed.
Yes.
So you can use oils in so many different ways. You can diffuse them, you can use them on your body, you can use oil burners, you can use them for massage. They're so versatile. You can put them in baths. What's the easiest way to start using them, do you recommend?
My personal favorite is putting them on the body, because of their absorption level and how quickly it reacts with us on a cellular level. Um, that's my favorite way. I also do the diffuser as well, and it's just a same thing where I won't put the same thing in it every day. It just depends on what the energy is that I'm feeling called toward, and it will just kind of be, like when you cook, sometimes it's a dash of this and a pinch of that, and there's not really a recipe that you follow. It's just whatever you feel called to do. And then you smell it and you're like, oh, it needs something else. And really, I think it's the same. It's kind of like, what am I called toward today? What does my energy need today? Um, I know for myself, my very first essential oil that I started out with was lavender for helping me just kind of calm and go to sleep. And it's so, readily available. I mean, you even have some dried sprigs of it there at your desk. And
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that went, oh, I don't like lavender, but there's probably someone out there. But I think lavender is a really good kind of all around for people. I think also the citrus scents are another that are very popular for uplifting the energy and for kind of feeling that like awakened kind of feeling, whether it's physically awake or even spiritually awake. Any citrus scents are really good as well. And I like putting them on the pulse points and also highlighting them over the chakras that people are needing that specific energy for them. And even if it's something that you're like, well, I really want to call on this energy, but maybe I don't want to smell this for the next 20 minutes because you have to understand essential oils are not a perfume. So it's not going to stay on your body for, several hours. It will absorb into the skin and then that's the end of it. You won't smell it again after those, 15, 20 minutes. So, someone will be like, well, can I just open the cap and smell it? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you just feel like you need that quick hit, you can just unscrew the cap and take 3 deep breaths and just feel yourself transported.
Yeah, and it's something actually that I don't do, but I love that point of putting it on the chakra points and using them that way. And you can obviously work with different ones then as well on different chakra points. So yeah, that's a really good tip. And I find as well sometimes in the morning, I know lavender is like a very relaxing and it's great for sleep. But sometimes I find in the morning it can be uplifting as well. And just find that it helps wake me up sometimes when I'm just, waking up in the morning, and just to smell that fresh scent, I find it quite uplifting. So yeah, and it's actually funny because I remember just speaking with a friend and she was showing me all these different oils and I was smelling them, and some of them I loved and others the smell just, I was like drawn back. I was like, whoa, I don't know if I like that. And but she was saying sometimes it's the ones that we don't necessarily like that sometimes we need. So there's that side of it as well to take into account. So often you may need something and not realize it, and it may be that you're kind of avoiding it, or you feel that, oh no, I don't like that one, but that could be the very one that you need.
Yes, I would say there are quite a few that I own that have a scent to them that is maybe not my favorite, but there are those times where I'm like, even though I don't care for this scent, I know that I need it right now. I don't know if you follow Dougal Fraser. He is a color therapist, and so he works with a lot of light and color. And in his book, he discusses that, um, we all, there will be certain colors that we all are drawn to, and there will be certain colors that we have an aversion to. And there is like a light and a shadow to it. And so you have to discover what your aversion to that color is. And usually that's because you have some healing work to do around that situation. So I often find that interesting. People say, oh, I absolutely hate the color purple. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you have some work you need to do there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And as you say, there's always the light and the dark, the two sides of it. So yeah, that makes total sense. So hopefully people who are listening, if they're not already working with crystals, with essential oils, with crystal grids, hopefully they'll start to try it and just see what works for them. And if you want to connect with Cynthia and learn more about it, if you're drawn to taking part in her courses, Cynthia, if you can share, do you have a website that they can go to as well?
Absolutely. It's angelrootsandboots.com. And you can
Brilliant.
find me both at Instagram and at Facebook at Angel Roots and Boots.
Fantastic. And I'll put a link to all of those in the notes below this so everybody can go directly there. So thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you, and hopefully we have open people's eyes to the uses of crystals and oils and working with the angels in that sense, and just enhancing and amplifying that energy, because it really is so powerful. So it's been such a pleasure, and thank you once again. And okay, and I'll see you all again next week for the next episode of the podcast. Bye bye.